In this video, we're going to continue to make components for the carabiner shuttle pin. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the spring, or the 4 springs that would be used in conjunction with the ink cartridge and the separator. But in this video, we'll start with creating a new component. This is going to be one of 2 components we'll be creating original. We'll call this spring. And we'll go ahead and say OK. And then I'm going to go ahead, rather than going to a sketch, I'm going to go to create, and we're going to use a coil. And we're going to start with selecting the XZ plane as our sketch. And I'm going to go ahead and create a circle, which is automatically selected for you. I'm going to choose the origin and draw a diameter and set that to be 0.160 and hit enter. Zooming in to see what it's creating, our coil menu is going to help us out with that. The amount of revolutions this spring has is going to be 10 revolutions. This may go through and give you an error message until some of the other items are changed. But here I'm going to go ahead and keep going. This is going to be 0.8 inches tall. And then we're actually going to be on the inside, so where the spring, because I use the dial caliper to measure the outside to the outside diameter of the spring. So that means all the spring is occurring inside of this. And our section size will be 0.01, which again was created by measuring our thickness of our spring that we have within our hand from our carabiner pin. I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and here is our spring that we created. There are 2 ends that will be created as well to match the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the top level of the assembly. Go ahead and choose new component. This one we will call it spring end. Say OK. We're going to go and create a coil again, choosing the same XZ plane, drawing a circle to the same diameter of 0.16, and here I'm going to change some of the information. So for the ends, still working with the diameter of that, I'm going to change to still working with revolution and height for our set diameter of 0.16. Here we only have 2 revolutions on this one. The height on this is going to be very small, so 0.03. And then the section size is going to remain the same as the original spring as well. So you'll see once we have all these still set to the inside, they will also be ready to go. I'll go ahead and say OK. Here is the end of our spring end, and then while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and right click on the component, choose to copy. And then when I go up here to the top level, I'm going to go ahead and right click and I'm going to choose paste. And that's going to bring me a second component. I'm going to go ahead and drag and move this. So utilizing the arrows from the move copy dialog, I'm going to go ahead and move that above. The way that we're going to create this is actually you're going to see the end of the spring from the main body to the end are pretty well set up. And actually I'm going to go ahead and just use the joint command. I need to go ahead and let me ground by right clicking on the main spring and choosing ground from the menu. I'm going to go ahead and hit joint. I'm going to move, I'm going to choose the very center of the end of the spring end, rotating around, and I want to choose the exact same position in the middle for the end of the spring. They will move into place. This will be a rigid joint we're going to apply, and I will say OK. Same thing will happen on the spring end here. We're going to joint, choosing the moving component first, so the very center of that spring end, and then we're going to choose the center of the main body, the ending of the main spring there. Those will connect into place. We will say OK, and now we have our spring. And for this case, we're going to utilize this same file where we do not need to create 4 of these. We are going to use copies of the same component, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the save button and make sure that it is in the proper project, and we will call this just to designate, we'll call this barrel spring, because these are the ones that end up inside of the barrel, and hit save. This video concludes on how to create those springs. The next video, we'll take a look at some of the other components that are working together to be able to help with the function of that carabiner.